Hi, this is Oscar Reynoso from Westminster, California. I play at Mile Square Golf Course. This is Golf Smarter number 1008.
Ultimately, golf is about making a movement consistently enough so you can plan your next movement. If you are trying to guess what your next swing is going to be because you're trying to work through the permutations of the ninth variable on the backswing, you're not going to be good. But someone like him who simplifies it and makes it one thing. Tony's another one, lock your arm against your chest and turn. Okay, that's easy enough to repeat. Doing that for the average golfer, they start to hit the same shot over and over, and now their scores start to drop because they're not thinking swing thoughts. They're not playing golf swing on the golf course because they've got a method. If someone went to gym and said, hey, this works for me, I'd love that. It's all about playing better golf. It's not about a certain method. It's not about which instructor is the best. It's about how to get people to play better golf.
The future of simulator golf to grow the game with Jason Chambers of the Onyx Golf Academy.
This is Golf Smarter, sharing stories, tips, and insights from great golf minds to help you lower your score and raise your golf IQ. Here's your host, Fred Green.
Welcome to the Golf Smarter podcast, Jason.
Hi, Fred.
How are you?
I'm doing great today.
I'm glad that you're here because I want to talk to you about a couple of different things that you're involved in. But the first, I got to get right to it. You registered on my website to be a potential guest. I was hoping that's what you were trying to do. And then you wrote me this beautiful letter and I got, this is something I want to talk about. You work in Orange County, California at a place called the Onyx Golf Academy.
Yes, sir.
And I went online and looked it up, and it's all golf simulators. This is not green grass golf.
No, sir.
How's business?
In Orange County, it's great.
Which is amazing because Orange County is a 12-month-a-year golf place.
It is, but we're not growing any more land.
That's true.
All of the golf courses here are full 90% of the time. So people who don't have the ability to be at a private club, or even some who are at private clubs, they need a place to play and practice. And people in Orange County are notorious for being really comfortable at 68, 69, and 70 degrees. But outside of that, it gets a little dicey. So our owner built a facility that's second to none. He spent probably too much money on it. At least that's what he tells me. And
of course he does.
We've got TrackMan facility. Everything is done to the nth degree. So we have the best equipment. We have a great environment. We've got bays that are wide enough where you don't have to worry about hitting the ceiling or hitting the sidewalls, which in some I've been in, I feel a little nervous. But yes, it is indoor golf. And for someone who grew up loving the game of golf and had a lot of experiences traveling around playing golf, it is a different experience.
Let's call it simulator golf as opposed to indoor golf. I think simulator golf really explains indoor golf as what does that mean other than miniature golf. But in Orange County, and I know in Orange County right next to Los Angeles County, and in Los Angeles, golf is, if you're not a member of a private club, and you live in the greater Los Angeles area, you're going to have to travel at least an hour to find a public golf course. There's very few, and the ones that are there, if they're city run, they're not in great shape. I've played Rancho Park a couple times in Los Angeles, and it's a great track, but it's not in great shape.
No, and that's the hard part is you either get a really good track that's in bad shape, or you get here's $195 for your 18-hole round at the Muni. And,
yeah.
There's a lot of people in Orange County who can afford that. But there's a lot who can't. And they want to have, they also have families, they have jobs, they have all those other things that,
get in the way of golf.
Yeah. I mean, golf takes up 5 to 6 hours. So, I think the niche that simulator golf is taking is you can play 18 holes with your friends, have a couple beers, and play Pebble Beach in under a couple hours.
And not have any goose poop under your shoes.
They don't allow that at Pebble, I don't think. But it's so it's a different experience. As an instructor, there's a lot of things where I have to kind of manage people's expectations, because when you're indoors, you have a perfect lie. You have, you don't have any wind. You don't have there's no consequences. It's kind of like being on the range, but even less consequences.
No uneven lies.
When I have a student who's struggling, I'm like, even if you hit this great, you're only going to hit this 8 feet. So, you don't have, there's no consequences. But that said, you can make it a laboratory where you can work on what people need to feel and need to pay attention to, where they're not worried about the consequences, and so there's pluses and minuses to that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Are there areas in Orange County that have like 9-hole courses, executive, par 3 and par 4 courses?
There's a few around here. And in fact, when I do playing lessons, I enjoy taking people to those like more executive courses.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I wish we had hundreds more of those and a lot less, championship, quote unquote, golf courses.
Yeah.
Because most of the people playing golf shouldn't be playing championship golf courses. They should be out there enjoying. The one here is called Oso Creek, and I think they have 14 par 3s and 4 par 4s. But they have some of the best green complexes in the area. So when I want to show someone how to play golf, we go there. We'll drop a couple balls around the greens and let them learn how to put the ball in the hole.
Right.
I grew up in Minnesota. I caddied at Hazeltine, but there was a little par 3 course right next to Hazeltine that was the one I got to play a lot. It was a public little golf course. They just redid it a couple years ago, but I loved that because you could go out there in an hour, 90 minutes and play golf with your friends and be done off doing something else already. So, I think that niche is tough because it's tough to get the volume in and make money, but it's something that if we had a perfect world, we'd have practice short game areas and more short courses.
Right. Now, I frequently will say that there's a huge difference between hitting balls and playing golf.
Oh, most definitely.
Right. So, but when you're playing simulator golf, are you playing golf or are you hitting balls?
Yes and no.
Right. Because again,
you can practice your decision making.
Okay.
I've got some junior students where we use the TrackMan performance range, and it cycles up different lengths, between let's say 50 and 150 yards, and we can talk about target selection. We can talk about, hey, there's a lot of room over there. You normally hit it to the left. Let's aim a little bit further right where all the room is. And you can make your mistake and still be in good shape. So you can train yourself with lower consequences to do the right decision and get into the process of making the decision.
You know what we call that?
What's up?
You know what we call that? Golf smarter.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. I mean, that's, one of the things that I've always enjoyed listening to yours is that you do bring on guests who really help out all levels of golfers. It's not focused on just beginners or just tour players, but everybody can learn from that kind of thinking, and you've done a really good job with that. So thank you for doing that.
Oh, that's very kind. I really appreciate that. But, doing as many shows as I've done now, and with my attention issues, I can't talk about the same topic every week. I love mixing it up. And that's, you do it long enough, mixing it up becomes an asset.
It does. Yeah. I couldn't teach the same players every week. I enjoy new golfers because it's like a new puzzle. If you're teaching the same person every week over and over, you kind of know what's going to happen even before you get there. So you understand exactly what you're saying with that.
In the simulator golf at Onyx, do you guys have some of the courses that are local? So somebody may get to practice a local course, or are they just getting to play, like the big name golf courses?
So with TrackMan, they don't do that. There are other softwares out there. I worked with Golf Tech, and they were with SkyTrack, and you could actually pick up almost any golf course and say, hey, oh, you're struggling a third hole over here at Kodo. We'll pop that up, and oh, look at this. It looks just like it does. So you could practice their tee shot. You could practice. I think that's a huge advantage, is what you just suggested. Being able to play your golf course or the upcoming golf course you're going to play, to be able to try shots out. So you mentally can get in there and say, okay, I know I can hit this tee shot. I know what I need to do it before you get there. So
and I'm sure that you get a lot of people coming in for a lesson that say, you know what, I'm playing at a charity tournament next week, and I haven't hit a ball in a year and a half, and I just make me better so I can not embarrass myself. It would be great if you can have them hit, like, okay, let's play the course that you're playing.
Yeah. No, I like that about SkyTrack, but TrackMan they're more proprietary, and they have all of the big name courses. I mean, there's a lot of beautiful stuff, but it's not as easy to go into, the local golf course to pick it out. So I do think that's something that for instruction, at least, it's really helpful to be able to walk people through that. But we can work on, shot selection and picking the right targets on just about any golf course, because I've played a lot of golf courses, and we know that you're going to have to make a different selection every time you go.
Have you had a chance to see TGL this past year?
I watched the first couple of weeks, but being on the West Coast, I've listened to it on XM radio on the way home, because by the time it's on, they go on at 6 o'clock East Coast. And, that's 3 o'clock out here.
It's been 4 o'clock West Coast, or even 3 o'clock. One of them was 3 o'clock.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's kind of like watching Red Sox baseball. I don't get a chance to do any of that because it's over by the time I'm done with work. So, I've listened to it. I think it's a unique product. I don't know if it has the standing that golf will, but, I've been wrong about things before as well.
Personally, I think it has a tremendous amount of potential to grow the game. And, when you talk about growing the game, everyone does it on, the discussion is green grass. And
right.
As you said, we're running out of land here. But also with the new generation of golfers, they're not going to watch 4 days of golf over the weekend, right, on TV.
Right.
But give them 2 hours on Monday night of some, high-level golfers playing simulators that they can relate to. I think TGL has a tremendous amount of I think the opportunity to grow the game through that, and places like Onyx, like your simulator shop, right? Combined, I think people can walk in and go, wait a minute, we can do this socially. We can, we don't have to spend all day, and we can suck, and it's okay. We're not slowing the people behind us.
Right.
Right. To talk about pace of play issues, which are top of mind for so many people these days. Yeah. You're not going to have that in simulator golf.
No, and I think you're right. I think it will bring the game to some different people. I think the other benefit is, when I was a caddy at Hazeltine, we did corporate outings. Mm-hmm. And so you'd rent the course out, and you get it for the whole day. You could have corporate outings if they build some more TGL stadiums. Oh, look, Tiger played here.
Yeah.
You could hit the same shots from the same spot on the same holes. And, it could also be like a cocktail party. So a corporation could come in there and they could start to do that. You could do it for birthday parties and things like that.
I think Topgolf kind of showed that.
Yeah. Yeah. Right? I mean, Topgolf it got people into a different way of thinking. Now that the PGA separates, off course and on course when they do statistics. Uh-huh. I'm an off course, of course, but Topgolf was the first one where they got people to start thinking, oh, I'm going to go play golf. Well, these are people you wouldn't ever see at a golf club. They wouldn't spend time, but date night, it's a great time to go out, and it gets people into playing golf. And
I heard somebody make a very compelling argument about that. It's like, you see a lot of people going to bowling alleys, but how many of them are buying bowling balls?
Correct.
Right. So that's kind of like the Topgolf concept is like you see a lot of people going and having a lot of fun at Topgolf, but they give you clubs just like they give you bowling balls. Are they going out and saying, I really want to pursue this? It's probably a small fraction, but it's not changing the face of the game.
No, and I think their numbers have started to level off. I mean, Callaway just sent them out for purchase. So, I think it's just like indoor golf or like simulator golf. Thank you. We're gonna hit a point where it saturates, and then there will be the next thing. As someone who loves the game of golf, there's always going to be green grass golf, though. I mean, there's nothing better than being on the golf course, new experience, being outside. I mean, that's what it was meant to be.
Absolutely.
But to get experiences where you could still play golf and still enjoy time with your friends, I think the simulator golf that is happening right now is a really, really good alternative.
And it's getting better.
Yeah, much better. Much better. They're even working on places right now where you can work on short game shots. Wow. And building bunkers and things like that. I mean, the TGL is a great example of that. They've got granted they've got that green that spins around and has has bunkers in it and you can play it there. But I mean, if you even the three different tees, where you have the fairway, the rough, and the bunker, it gives you all of the shots you see on the golf course.
Right.
So is it the same as golf? Not at all. But it's a really cool version of it that I think you're right for this generation is going to bring some more people in, which is what we always talk about.
Right. I mean, how much does it cost for, let's just say, a foursome to come in and play for 2 hours at Onyx?
So we rent the bay by the hour. We don't rent per person. So greens fees, we charge, I think, $70 for our average bay per hour. So it's not cheap.
So you can play Pebble Beach for $70 and have a foursome playing.
Right. That's where it goes.
There you go.
When you do that, and we've got towers of beer and we've got, a small restaurant. So, people can enjoy their time.
Right. And they're not driving golf carts into the water.
What's that?
And they're not driving golf carts into the water.
Not yet. No one's allowed a cart in our facility, which is good. We're walking only, standing only, I should say. But
yeah, but I'm sure it's very comfortable for your group to be sitting there where you'd probably have nice lounges and bar service, and it's really answers a lot of questions. I think.
Our Jonathan who built it, he did a great job. Each little station has its own little bar with 4 seats. So the bays are wide enough to have 4 seats with a bar. So you can look out over your friends. And it's also our way that we got safety. So we didn't have people wandering in there. We were like, okay, you just have to stay behind the bar so nobody gets hit. So, because that's the other thing with indoor golf is where do you go? You got to have a lot of things like that where you think about it. But no, he did a great job building our facility. And it's, you go in there on a Wednesday night when it's raining and, it's gorgeous.
Wait a minute, in Orange County?
Yeah.
It's raining?
It rains 3 days a year.
Okay.
If it threatens to rain, we all go inside anyways, so don't worry about it.
That's right. Oh my God. It's 61 degrees. Get my parka.
If it's not 68, 69, or 70, there's a problem. It's either too cold or too hot then.
About a year or so ago, I was in New York for a wedding, and it was at the Brooklyn Bowl. I don't know if you're familiar with this place, but it was a bar, concert venue with 6 lanes of bowling.
Oh, wow.
Right? And it was so much fun. We went bowling. Here we are in suit and tie for this nice wedding, and there's this band just ripping it to shreds over on a stage over to the left, but we're bowling. And then over here, there's people playing, there's casino games going on. So they're playing cards. And then there's the bar is full and people are having a blast. And recently, Bed Bath and Beyond closed up over in an area near me. And I looked at it and went, concert venue, bowling alley, golf simulators, ping pong tables. Come on. I think we've got an idea. I think putting bowling and golf simulators in one place and then also making it a music venue, bar, restaurant type of thing, I think it's only my idea and we'll never get past this.
I'm telling you, at some point, someone was like, hey, you'll just hit a ball into a screen and it'll project it. Nobody would have thought that was an idea that would go with either. And now it's a major part of the industry.
Let's get into your golf instruction and your thoughts and your methods. I mean, you've heard a lot of the instructors that we've had on Golf Smarter. And again, I appreciate that very much. The thing about this program that's shocked me more than anything is the amount of instructors that use this as continuing education, because they get to hear, so many different instructors and talk about their methods.
Well, I think what your program is really good at is, Butch Harmon is on the Golf Channel all the time. Right. There's a lot of these same names you're hearing there, and they're kind of saying the same thing. And you've brought instructors on who are completely diametrically opposed to each other, but they offer people a different solution, because no matter what system you teach, it doesn't work for everyone.
Right.
And
that's the knock on Ben Hogan's book, right?
No, I mean, there's, everybody wants to knock on somebody else's instruction. And frankly, I've used myself as a guinea pig and to try different systems. And, I will admit, as much as I hate to, I watch some YouTube golf, which it can kill people, but I use it as entertainment and learning, because it gets new ideas. It talks about how to teach different people different things, gives people different feels. Some of it I think is wrong. But most of it, if your problem matches what they're talking about, is really good. The problem is most people don't know what their actual problem is. Right. So you go on there and you watch about how to hit a big draw from this guy and you're already hitting a slinging slap hook. Well, that's not going to make you better. So I think, just random instruction stuff. I do it. I post stuff online, but you've got to be careful with what you pay attention to. And the benefit of having a good instructor is having someone who's right there in front of you and is going through his mental checklist to say, this is really what's important. I'm doing triage on my swing evaluation. Every time I meet with somebody, I'm doing triage. What is the most important thing that's going to make this golfer better? And I wouldn't say I have one system, but my system is that I want to find out what's going to make you better. And depending upon whether you want to be a development golfer or you wanted just a quick fix, then we find something, that works for you. I mean, we're in a service industry. We're not, this is not academia.
Right. Are there any instructors on YouTube that you were like, this guy's good, I like this one?
It cycles through. Uh-huh. I don't like to pick one, because then it eliminates everybody else.
Okay.
There's this guy, Jason Chambers. He's really good on YouTube, but,
wait a minute,
I've learned a lot from different people. And some of it is meant for one type of body. Some of it's meant for way more athletic people. I mean, the modern golf swing hurts a lot of people. And everybody's need for chasing speed hurts a lot of people because they don't have the body to do it. I don't have the body to swing 130 miles an hour. I've got one student who's a fitness trainer, and he can ramp it up, and he's got the muscles and he's got the ability to support that speed. But if I got someone a woman who's in her late 50s to try and go for 120 mile an hour swing speed, she will break. So it's finding what person, what that person needs and what they can do, and being honest with them. I think, that's the biggest thing. I've had students tell me, hey, my younger instructor wouldn't communicate with me what was really necessary because they were afraid they would offend me. And I'm like, look, I don't want to be your friend. I want to tell you what you need to do and do it. And if it hurts your feelings, I'm sorry, but you need to fix this. So, I think that was one of the coolest things. I listened to a podcast with Martin Chuck one time, and man, I'd love to have a beer with that guy because everything he's not lying to you. Sometimes he's a little rough around the edges, but I think it's what people needs to hear sometimes.
Great guy.
Have you had him on here?
Multiple times.
Okay.
And fingers crossed. Well, I haven't recorded it yet, so I won't say anything. And could have already played. Who knows how this works? But Martin's a great guy. So when you say the modern swing hurts a lot of people, how do you define the modern swing?
I think everybody who's trying to get loaded and lagged and moving from right to left. I mean, I spent a lot of time with, Stack and Tilt, Jim Venettos and Tony. I do think that it's a left side based game. When you start moving people around who aren't very athletic, bad things happen. And I'd rather have someone strike the ball solid than hit it as far as they can every 1 out of 10 times, because they're moving around trying to coordinate this movement that if you're not spending 4 or 5 days a week, it's not worth it. So, taking the club up, dropping it inside, being able to slide get the right sway, and then rotate out within a second. Let's make it simpler. Let's make it simpler for people.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But they got to practice it.
Yes, they do.
Isn't that the biggest problem with the modern golfer? Is that they get a lesson and forget it.
And the ones who, like, I have a woman right now who she's took a lesson about 3 weeks ago, and then she looked at me and said, well, can we take the next lesson soon? And I said, how soon? She said, do you have time in 2 hours? And I'm like, no, that's not how it works. I need you to practice what we just talked about. It's just not about getting more information. But you've got to practice. I mean, I grew up, and all I wanted to do was to play golf, and went to Florida and became a PGA professional. And then decided I had to grow up and get a real job. And because I was frustrated with golfers who wouldn't practice. Mm-hmm. And I couldn't understand why they wouldn't practice, because it's like during the lesson, they were doing great and they knew what they were supposed to do. Well, then I went and got a real job in a different field. And then it became really difficult to find 5 hours a week to practice. You start to talk about kids, a job, pretty soon if you play once a month, you're lucky. If you hit balls twice a month. And then, so it changed how I saw golf instruction. It's not about finding the perfect swing. Those guys we see on TV, they're freaks. Everybody knows that.
Absolutely.
And I don't know if I would even want to teach one of those guys or coach one of those guys, because I enjoy seeing someone who's shooting 95, 96, send me a text that says, hey, I shot 84 yesterday. To me, that's like better than winning the major. It doesn't pay as well, but it's that happens more often when you work with regular people and you acknowledge where they are and you help them find a better version of themselves.
Boy, but can you imagine if you'd coach somebody that won a major, what it would do to your business?
Come
on, man.
It would, but I listened to, who was it? I was listening, I flew to Virginia this weekend and I was listening to coaching podcasts, and this instructor said, hey, I had 6 tour players and it was like having 6 little prima donnas. And he's limited the number of tour players he works with. Because you want to teach people, but you can't you can't be the beck and call of somebody, who needs you once, but then you're like, oh, by the way, you're fired. I like to see a lot of people grow. My goal will be to help as many people as possible play better golf. What that means to them is up to them.
One of the things that I've really learned about doing this show for so many years with so many different guests is that you can try to teach golf, but for the golfer, they really have to learn golf. And it's something you don't, you could be told, and I have been been told over and over and over again, but maybe it was 10, 15 years later that I'm like, oh, that's what they meant. Like the nuances that happen with golf. It's like, oh, I get it now. So you really have to learn it through your own experience.
Definitely. Some of the best times during my lessons are when a student will say, oh, I just felt this before we see the numbers on the TrackMan or before the ball flies. Oh, I felt the face open, or I felt this, or now I can feel what I'm not supposed to be doing. And for them to feel the difference is huge, because most people have no clue, myself included. When that club gets beyond waist high, no one is aware of where it is. Now, tour pros have good feeling about where it is, but your perception goes away once your eyes lose it. So for a student to pick up the feeling, to me, that's learning. I can talk till I'm blue in the face about where we need to have this club at this position, but if someone doesn't feel it, I'm not doing my job. So I'll sometimes confuse students because I'll give them 7 different feels for the same thing, but I'm trying to get there to connect them to that idea. I'm trying to connect you to what does rotation feel like? I'll go stand in the corner of our bay and say, turn your body until you see me, some people it's verbal. Some people it's physical. Some people I have to move them into position. And then they're like, oh, that's all it is. So that the learning part is so great for me because each person's different. And, I've had lessons where I really didn't want to be there anymore because they were difficult and wouldn't listen. But there's also ones where people are just like, they get it and they just love the feeling and they don't want to leave because they want to just keep hitting balls. And I'm like, well, if you just keep doing this, that same result will come, and please move out so I can take my next lesson. But
your time is up.
Yeah. So, to me, you're 100% right. You can't just indoctrinate people. So we talk about YouTube learning, that's ideas. That's golf instructors selling their ideas is really what YouTube instructors are. And you've got to have it even through Skillist or some of these other apps where you do online lessons. You have to have a communication with someone so they get it. If they don't get it, it can be the best information in the world. But if they don't understand it or they don't understand how to apply it, that's no good. Yeah. That's no good.
Yeah. One of the people that kind of you brought up a moment ago is Jim Vanettis. And he's got his own method.
He does.
And it's almost heretical. It's almost, is that the right word? It's unique. It's not what other people are teaching, although he is staying on the left side pretty much the whole time, is what Tony Manzoni is advocating, is rotating around your left side there.
Correct.
But I think their methods are very, very different.
And it's like Tony talked about with stack and tilt. There's a lot of similarities, but Jim is all about getting the shallow swing plane to strike the ball the same way every time. But both of them are eliminating moving to the right side. They're eliminating some of the movement. And for the average golfer, someone like Jim is a great instructor if you can deal with his personality. This is the only way mentality. But the information he has is gold if you follow that, because you go out there and someone who's never hit a draw before in their life, they set up like he wants them to, and they start hitting flush draws, sold, and golf becomes fun. Ultimately, golf is about making a movement consistently enough so you can plan your next movement. If you are trying to guess what your next swing is going to be because you're trying to work through the permutations of the ninth variable on the backswing, you're not going to be good. But, someone like him who simplifies it and makes it one thing. Tony's another one, lock your arm against your chest and turn. Okay, that's easy enough to repeat. So doing that for the average golfer, they start to hit the same shot over and over, and now their scores start to drop because they're not thinking swing thoughts. They're not playing golf swing on the golf course because they've got a method. So, for all the people who go out there and talk about Jim and his, indoctrination of his method, I think it's a great way for someone to learn if they're willing to commit to it. They could come to me too, but if someone went to Jim and said, "Hey, this works for me," I love that because it's all about playing better golf. It's not about a certain method. It's not about which instructor is the best. It's about how to get people to play better golf.
So tell me about your basic fundamentals of instruction. I mean, your email, you said you have 3 basic fundamentals.
Yep, there's 3 fundamentals, and I did some reading, and it came from McElgrady, which is, I don't think I could ever do that because I don't have that kind of mind. But the information is incredible that he shared with the world. You've only got to do 3 things. You got to control your low point, which is your strike. If you don't control your low point, you can't really plan anything else.
And that's the Martin Chuck.
What's that?
Martin Chuck thing is like, I got a secret for you. It's like, well, Martin, we all know what the secret is. It's controlling that low point, which is not the easiest thing to do.
If the best exercise I've seen to do that is to get in a bunker, draw a line, and practice hitting on the left side of the line for a right-handed golfer.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. And if you strike the ball solid, then all of a sudden, now you got to figure out where it's going. And so then we get into club path and club face. That's the one that most people who can strike it solid, that's where they get stuck because they don't understand the relationship. So if you can educate someone about what they need to be doing, they won't make the wrong thing. A lot of people, hey, I'm slicing the ball, so I'm going to turn harder left. Well, what that's going to do is make the club slide across the ball more and spin it more that way. You've got to almost, you got to go see Jim and make it start to the right, and people's minds don't get that. And when you can get them to control their low point and control their path, the only thing left then is how far do you hit it? So you do those 3 things. You control the direction, the distance, and the contact. There's no perfect way to do it. I mean, you look at all the swings on tour, there's a lot of different ways to do it, but those are the fundamentals. Now, how you apply them, we can talk all you want about different methods of doing that.
And that's where playing lessons is incredibly valuable.
Oh yes, I love playing lessons.
Do you?
I love to be able to see what someone does on the golf course, whether you're at a driving range, at a nice country club driving range where the grass is perfect and green. You're always in a lab environment, or if you're in a simulator golf facility like I am. So your swings are always generic and you're building fundamentals. But when you get someone on the golf course and you can show them how to hit a downhill lie or a ball above their feet, and they start to understand the physics of it, now it's like, things start clicking in their mind, and you can almost see it. When you show someone how to hit, you can hit a nice, simple little pitch shot. You don't have to pull out the lob wedge and throw it 40 feet in the air to make it, to hit a pitch shot. You can just hit a nice little pitching wedge that flies maybe, chest high and still does the same thing. Showing people how to manage the golf course. I love that. That's the one that I'm trying to convince my owner to have a night where we're just going to have, indoor playing lessons. So we're going to have everybody on a different golf course, and I'm going to walk around and just talk to people. What's the decision here? There's no consequences, but if they can start making decisions the right way when they get to the golf course, now that'll be in the back of their head. I'm making a decision, and they can commit. when you can commit and you can have a simple swing, you can start to lower your scores.
Absolutely. It's interesting because when you were getting into your third fundamental here, I wrote down mechanics versus decision making on a playing lesson, and that goes back to the difference between hitting balls and playing golf.
Right.
I know that when I look at my scorecard, the days that I have some tough holes, it really is mostly decision making.
A lot of it.
Yeah, my short game can be pretty bad sometimes too.
I will always look at all the shots that I didn't hit solid and be like, oh, I could have done this so much better. But it's like putting. I mean, putting is you gotta know where you're going. You've got to be able to hit the ball somewhat solid, and you got to figure out the distance. You can hit it solid, know where you're going, but if you can't control the distance, you're in trouble. It's decision making on what you need to do, and that's what's so beautiful about golf is. You never make the same decision. I play the same course every week, but one week I'll be 40 yards behind or 40 yards in front of where I was last week. Yep. That's not the same golf course.
Right.
And I think another fun exercise for people to do is to go play their forward tees.
And just do it anyway.
It's,
stop playing the blues when you are an 18 index. Don't do that.
We play. I play with a group of guys who are all between my handicap, and we got a couple lower handicap guys, and a bunch of guys around 10 to 15, and they all pick a game. And I think when it comes my turn to pick the game, I think I'm going to play red and white tees. We're all going to play gross score and see what happens, and because everybody looks down on that, but you still got to put it in the hole from a par 4. Yeah, you might reach a par 5 and 2 that you don't normally reach, but you're still going to have to hit 2 solid shots.
I'll tell you, I recently played with a buddy of mine who has trouble hitting the ball anywhere beyond 150 yards, and I'm being generous. And so the last time we played, I said, you know what? Let's try this today. You play the front tees, and I'll play our regular tees. I'll play the whites, you play the reds. And he looked at me like, really? And I'm like, let's just try it and see what happens. Okay. Well, I'm telling you, it was amazing because usually when he plays the same tees as I do, it takes him 2, maybe sometimes 3 shots to get to my drive.
Right.
And that slows everything down. But by him playing from the forward tees, he was hitting his second shot basically from the same place I was.
Yeah.
And that made it much more fun for both of us.
Oh, yeah. You're not sitting there waiting for him and feeling bad. Right. And he's enjoying the round of golf.
Yep.
I mean, unless you're making money at this game, play the tees that you're supposed to be on, you don't need to, just because you don't need to go to the back tees. Go play the forward tees someday and see how much fun it is and how much pressure it is actually. Because if you walk in there and you don't shoot below your handicap from the forward tees, there's pressure. So making birdie putts, getting comfortable making more birdies or pars, or even making more bogeys if you shoot double bogey all the time, making a bogey putt, get used to it. And then you step back maybe for half the holes. You start building your game up, but enjoy the game.
Good for you.
The best golf course I think the second best golf course I've ever played is one called Winter Park 9 in Orlando. And you would go there and you would just put your ball in the rack and you'd go out and play. And when I lived there in the 90s, they hadn't redone it. And then they had someone, and I can't remember, it wasn't Gil Hance, but it was someone at that level who redid that 9 holes. And it's in the middle of town. And it was a lot like Scottish golf. Huh. You go out there, it was an executive course. There was a par 5, there was a couple short 4s and a bunch of par 3s, but you just would go out and play golf. And at the time I was working at Lake Nona Country Club, so I had the ability to play some really cool places, but you go out there and that was fun to play. I enjoyed that.
Let everybody know how to get in touch with you, how to see your YouTube videos. If you're on social media, what's the best way to learn more from you?
My YouTube is Coach Jason at Onyx. And my Instagram is Coach Jason at Onyx. So
Onyx is ONYX.
Yes. And I've also got I think For the Love of Golf California is a secondary YouTube channel that has some of my lessons on it. So people can email me as well, or even call me. I don't know if you want to pass that out.
Well, that's up to you, man.
Yeah, I mean, I love just having people text me. My number is 949-519-5657. I will respond to anyone. I'll answer questions. We can talk about golf swing. I mean, this has been great just chatting golf with you.
Thank you so much. It's been great chatting golf with you too, Jason.
Thank you.